What's up, YouTube? Welcome to this week's show of the Crazy Gentleman podcast. I'm your host, the Crazy Gentleman. And this is a little bit of a different intro than if you listen to the podcast. This weekend burnt me out. I did the podcast audio just because it had to get to Amy yesterday from my couch, half dead. And I figured I owe YouTube an intro and a video, which I could not at all do yesterday. So anyways, the reason there's the intro to the intro, surprise, I said it last week, I'm not going to be recording from home anymore because I want to try and do all these intros on site and everything, which I kind of did in the show. You'll hear I did a little lighter of an intro. I'm just getting used to that. But the reason for this intro is because after this weekend and after this show, getting to really spend some time with these guys, I owed them another intro and a thank you, and just had to tell people you got to go check out. First off, Buttera Metal Werx is who's on the show this week. Brian Buttera could not be any nicer. They just got to check him out. His work is top notch, and his personality is even better. Also shout out to my man Pat for turning me on to these guys and this show and all that. I wouldn't have known about any of this until it was too late. Also, Kevin Dunworth, go check him out. Dunworth _ I think on Instagram. I don't want to get too in the weeds with everyone's Instagram names. I'm going to put links to their websites and all their social medias and all that in the show notes. Go hit the show notes, check them out. These guys are top notch. So thank you so much, Kevin, for putting on this show that brought us all together called the Lightning Bolt Show. If you guys have if Kevin's going to do a Lightning Bolt show in your area, you got to attend it. It is absolutely worth every bit of the experience. It was free. I don't know if all of them are free. I know you guys have heard of the Golden Bolt. Kevin's the guy behind the Golden Bolt also. Anything Kevin's involved in, check out. Thank you so much to him. Thank you so much to BMW Motorrad. All the Germans, the guys and the girls. Those German ladies, man, you guys are all awesome. Who else, man? Yeah, BMW really knocked it out of the park with this too. And now I probably got to buy an R19. I don't know. We'll see. The bike was so cool. And yeah. Oh, and obviously, yeah, House of Machines, where most of this went down. The show was at a gallery a few blocks away. But yeah, House of Machines was amazing. Food, drinks. It was all incredible. Their food was seriously amazing. And the hospitality was even better. Everyone there was incredible. And thank you so much to Steve. I don't really know exactly what his title is, but he's somehow involved with the House of Machines and all that. But thank you so much for the use of the House of Machines garage space, or whatever that's called. I'm probably screwing that up. I never asked him that, actually. But he's got a really cool garage connected to the House of Machines right next door there. And thanks so much for letting us use it for this show. And I know I forgot Evan's number, so you know the deal, man, for the world's finest outdoor and hunting knives. Oh, and cutlery, obviously. For the kitchen or for your fishing boat. The guy makes every kind of knife you could think of. Evan Simbita, hit him up. He's my friend, 740-270-9057. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy next week's show. And also, spoiler alert, I will be here for another intro at home for next week's show because I owe it to that guy too. It's another good one, and I'm really excited about it, and I'll explain it next week. Enjoy. Yeah, we're live at 5. Yeah, so I don't know. You want to just keep going with that story? You want to start over?
Yeah,
start somewhere else.
Yeah, whatever you want, man. I mean,
all right. I'm gonna just kick it off with the advertisement thing quick. Want to thank my producer, Whiskey Eye, and for the podcast end of things, and Bare Knuckle Performance, bareknuckleperformance.com, home of the baddest ass American-made parts for your Harley Davidson, FXR, Sportsters, Indians now. If you got an Indian, man, fucking hit up Paul. Anyways, you know where to find him, bareknuckleperformance.com. And Evan Simbita _custom_knives on Instagram. And I don't have his phone number pulled up, so you ain't getting it on this episode. But you know where to find him. Hit him up. Tell him I sent you. His phone number's on the Instagram. And Lexan-moto.com for all the badass audio devices inside your helmet, and punch in the code word crazy for 15% off at checkout. And hit up the Bump Shop Diaries, the bumpshopbackroom.com for all of the Crazy Gentleman merch. That's the only place to get it right now. And what else? What else are we advertising here? You got something you want to advertise?
Well, this will probably come out a little too late, but we're here in New York for the Lightning Bolt show down in Chinatown. And I will shout out to Spectra Oils for their sponsorship and always helping me. BMW Moto Rad for having me here in New York. Dunworth Machines and the House of Machines out of Cape Town, South Africa.
Is that their home base?
I believe so, yes.
Their headquarters or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
To my understanding, yes.
Okay. Yeah, pretty rad, man. That's where we're at now. House of Machines. I'll let you explain it all. What's going on, and
yep.
You know, tomorrow the gallery they got planned and all that.
Yep. So tomorrow is Saturday, the 25th. We got 10 invited builders that will be meeting at the House of Machines here in New York, and we'll do a shakedown ride to the Fuller Gallery. It's an exclusive art gallery that's been converted strictly for this show, with like I said, in conjunction with BMW, Moto Rad, and House of Machines. Which goes on to the evening. There's some major announcements of what the Lightning Bolt is, where it's going to go, some future shows, and the winner of $20,000, winner take all. So one of those guys going to walk away with some big money, and it should be a good time. There's an after party here at House of Machines, bunch of bands, good time, great people here. It's my first time down in New York City, and it's been an experience, man. We're staying in Little Italy,
yeah.
And then I went all through Chinatown here yesterday, so it's been cool, man. So it's gonna be a good show tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
Dude, you better eat like a fat bastard while
you're
here.
Well, you can ask them about my eating. I don't drink really, and so I make up for it in how much food I eat.
Yeah. I recently quit drinking probably about 6 or 7 months now, and dude, it's so hard to fucking control my food. Yeah, all I want to do is pig out now.
Yeah, that alcohol fills up a bunch. You don't realize, and once in a while I'll tie one on. Very few and far between. But yeah, I got to eat all day. I graze, I don't eat tons at one time, but I'll eat all day long. These guys, they kind of got it figured out now. Keep him fed, and he's good. Do whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So also, we'll backtrack a minute, man. I basically am a huge fan of your bikes, but you want to start off also by introducing yourself?
Sure, yeah. Brian Buttera. I'm based out of Lakeland, Florida. I have Buttera's Metal Werx. I debuted my first complete build Daytona 2018, and the rest is history. It took off. Now I do it full time. And it's taken me around the world, shows and opportunities from building the bikes have taken me to Abu Dhabi, Switzerland, all around the country, here in New York now. So it's been life-changing and been a great experience. So, but yeah, day in and day out, motorcycles are my life now, and constantly doing custom builds, and you look at one time, you have these dreams of how you want it, and then you get there and you realize you stress it so much you forget to enjoy it. But it's been a cool ride. I'm grateful for where I'm at.
Yeah, that's wild, dude. I never realized. So technically as a full-time career, only 2018.
Yeah, well, I've been in fabrication for 25 plus years on and off. I've went off and done a lot of other things at times, but metal fabrication's always been kind of my core. I found it early on welding and just progressed with that. That's just as much of the reason I'm here, asked to be a judge for this show, alongside head of design for BMW International and some of these other guys. It's probably more so my education, experience, and time in fabrication in general,
right.
Which led to the motorcycles. My fabrication went in the direction of close tolerance, stainless steel, precision food, pharmaceutical grade stuff. So I introduced polished stainless frames that I build, so it's pulled from, all those years in the welding shop and on the road and doing the things I did in fabrication that led to the motorcycles. And there were times I wanted to, and I tried, and, life's life. And I was 40 years old before, that bike came to fruition, and I took it to a show, and it all sparked and it happened, so, and it wasn't for lack of trying, that's when it all happened. So, and when it did, it really did. So,
does that put you at 45 now?
I am 45.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow, that's wild. So, I mean, obviously, to build the caliber of bike you build, that shit doesn't happen overnight. Where did you really start? Like, where'd you cut your teeth in metal fabrication?
I kind of covered the full spectrum, man. I'm self-taught. I never went to school for it. My first welding job was MIG welding production trailers for, back then, $8-9 an hour.
Right.
And 60, 70 hours a week,
Yep.
and just as much as you could do. And I kind of got keen to other opportunities in welding, and if I remember right, probably kind of bullshitted my way into a TIG welding job, and I had gotten a machine at a time, and but I learned the most from, thankfully I had some really good fabricators and some guys that I worked alongside with going through the places, and between Florida, I worked for an engineering firm in Cincinnati for several years, and a lot of places where there were some valuable things to be learned from those guys, just like now that we turn to the elders in motorcycle building, that again, thankfully I've gotten to know, and you turn to Mondo and things like that these good friend of mine, Stacy McCleary, that they've been around this for,
that guy's the best, man.
I talk to him regularly. He's I love him.
Yeah,
I love him. So so that all that you to be able to have those people in your life, and even you don't realize the significance at the time of how much. I certainly didn't. Even the days of, punching a clock at a miserable job, pissed off every morning, at 6 o'clock, and then, till 6 o'clock at night, and, everybody's talking about their weekend, and you're fucking working it, it's, why am I doing this? But at the end of the day, man, all that shit's formed what has allowed me to do what I'm doing right now.
Right.
I mean, like you said, you don't just build a bike like that, off some YouTube videos and go at it, so it's, behind the scenes. And like I said, although 2018 was when it really exploded and everybody saw what I did, behind the scenes, I've paid a lot of dues with building things and trying, and I failed plenty before it, the success hit me in the face. So
yeah.
Yeah,
anyone who's really successful, man, certainly has some failures or, whatever.
I think it's part of the real appreciation process, and I think that's why sometimes people are critical when people don't pay their dues or have a perspective of, what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
And everybody's had their hard road, respectively speaking to everybody, and it's all equally as relevant to everybody. But how you deal with those and how you get through them is, it molds you. you know. And I thankfully I found a path that hard work fixed everything, you know. Busting my ass got me out of a pinch, you know. Like I could go anywhere I ended up and find a welding job and I'd be all right, you know. And that's how I think it always came back to that, you know. It was always my safety net, you know, and it always was there for me. So
yeah, I've always said that, man. Any bad situation I've ever been in, just hard work will eventually get me out of it.
It does, man.
I mean, eventually, you know.
Yeah, and it fixes a lot of problems. Problem is, people don't want to do what it takes to, you know. It's not easy. So, and I had to learn that, you know. I certainly wasn't instilled with all the things to be that way, you know, off the rip. So I had to learn from trial and error, and but it paid off, you know. And I think that's what all those adversities is why you appreciate it as much as you do now, you know, what I do now. And I mean, I go out here and look at the sky and this bridge, and I'm in fucking New York City, you know, judging mostly with dinner with like the head of BMW. That's cool, man. And it's, the end of the day, it's just hard work that did it, you know. Yeah.
Hey, it's so wild to hear you say that this is the first time you've ever been in New York City ever.
Yeah, I've never been
all around the world, and you've never been to New York.
Yeah,
that's so crazy.
I've been through the state and parts of the state, but I've never experienced the city. Mm-hmm. So when I got in here yesterday, flew in yesterday morning. As soon as I got down here, man, I went walking. We didn't have anything to do. We were at some downtime and met everybody and kind of got through that, and I hit it, man. I just wanted to see shit, and I think I ended up hitting about 5 miles, you know, by the time I got back. And
did you eat any pizza yet?
No, but I've had, man, the food here is amazing. You know, you go down through here, like we're in Little Italy, so you come down, but from our door, it's like this nondescript door, and Italian flags. There's a pizza joint right here, and the other side of the door is a 24-hour weed shop. Like it's
sells itself.
Yeah. I mean, but it's a cool experience, man, and different than anywhere else. That's why I dig it. You know, like those experiences, and this whole show and is pushed hard to sell that New York vibe, and that, you know, kind of there's a lot that's going to go on and happen for the builders and stuff that. It's just that New York underground feel. That's what they're going for, and I think they're nailing it. So it's been fun so far, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I grew up here, man. Like this is where I cut my teeth on choppers and everything, right here on the Lower East Side. Like this is the fucking place to be in Manhattan, man. Like this is the feel like that you're talking about. You wouldn't get that feel like if you were uptown or near Harlem or like Midtown or the West Side. Like the Lower East Side right here is.
It's what a lot of people are saying. Like we were coming back last night, and it's like this. Looks like almost an abandoned building, and you go in this door, and up these stairs, and there's graffiti. And you go through this door, and it's like like you walk into a whole other world. It's like it's this bar, and and there's no sign. People just know. Yeah. They just fucking know where to go, man. And so yeah, it's. You know, I'm glad it was here, and this is to me what I always envisioned in New York. It's fucking New York, man. You got rats the size of cats running around here. Those things are monsters, man.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because that's one of the ways that I've always described New York. Also, is like this city behind every door could be a whole new world, man.
Everything, man. Everything I've seen so far, it's like it has this mystique about it. You know, like yeah, and just the House of Machines here is in a cool spot to me, because you got this big bridge right here, and then the skate park's right below it, right there by skating, and just all the stuff. It's cool, man. So you know, being in LA and all the things, different places we've been, and the international stuff. It's cool just to see the diversity, but at the end of the day, everybody's in this stuff for the same reason. You know, it's motorcycles. Like it's everybody's passionate about the same thing. I don't care where on this planet you are. You go to something, you know, based around motorcycles, everybody has the same outlook, the same camaraderie, the same. It's amazing, man. You know, something.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, man. Like the people don't seem to change too much from place to place. but like the style of bikes will change a bit, the scene will change a bit. But I never thought of it like that until you said it like that. Like, the people are the same. If you closed your eyes and just had these conversations, we could be in LA in this same fucking garage.
Yeah,
and it's kind
I
of
see a lot of similarities between, and maybe because I'm affiliated with the same show and the same some of the same things, but New York and LA, I see a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And maybe I just blanket like the big city and the styles and stuff, but a lot of the feels are the same to me about it. But New York is much more grittier, much more, you know, it's punch you in the mouth, where LA's kind of, you know, tickle your ear a little bit.
Yeah, a little more politically correct in LA, but this city could get weird about that too, for sure. But there's still some grit left here. Don't believe what you see on the news, you know?
Yeah,
there's still a little bit of grit
that's
here.
Everywhere, man. That's everywhere. You know, there's still good people standing up for the right shit. I don't care where you go.
Yeah. So. Dude, so in just a few short years of Buttera Metal Werx, you've already been around the world with it. How does that take off like a fucking rocket ship? That's kind of wild, man.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that until I'm still blown away. Like when you said that.
Yeah, I had debuted in Daytona that year, and it was, you know, and I wasn't gonna go. My plan was, and I had went a year or two earlier, and just I was in Austin and just absolutely stumbled on the hand built show. Had no idea what was going on. Just happened to be there that weekend.
Really? Were you on a bike trip traveling through?
Nope. I was just there for a weekend getaway, and literally sitting on the toilet in the morning, looking at my phone of what's going on in Austin this weekend.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up there. And it was at the old venue back then. And I saw some stuff there that, you know, blew my mind. Some stuff that, there's one bike at the time. It was, the bike name was Evelyn McGill, Ryan Gore's bike. And it was raw at the time. And so when I first met him, and it, basically I walked away from there inspired. I'm like, I'm going to build something. I was the plant manager for a big metal fab company at the time. And I was in a position, I thought maybe this is the time, and I did. So about a year later, I was going to do the hand-built show. I got accepted to it, was ready to go in April, and decided I got to push hard and get done a little early. And since Daytona's, it's about 2-3 hours away from me, depending on traffic. And so to do that, you know, and kind of hit all the shows and do the whole rally run. And so I did, and won every show. I'm
assuming you were at Willie's.
Yep, we did all of them. You know, did the Cycle Source shows, the Broken Spoke stuff, Willie's, the Boogie East show, which I enjoy at Annie Oakley's.
That's at
Annie Oakley's down at the end, and actually past the Broken Spoke down there. Yeah. Always enjoyed that show. Nice, cool, laid back vibe, so, and then when Rats finished the last Saturday winning Rats Hole. So with that momentum, some things and opportunities came up that took me to Sturgis. We did the hand-built show, still in April, and got good reception there, and I think did some other things, ended up in Sturgis, and kind of did the same format as Daytona. Hit all the shows, hit the big ones, finished with Rats Hole the last weekend, and head home.
So you were there with a fucking plan.
Yeah, you know, I went.
You weren't there fucking around partying.
No, and I've always, you know, I have a good time. I hang out, like I enjoy the people as much as I do anything else. You know, Stace McCleary, I talked to. I mean, there's a handful of people that have become very close friends of mine through this. You know, that I talk to regularly, even about things outside of motorcycles that all came about through these travels and doing this stuff. So, but yeah, I have always approached it, you know, some guys, everybody has their own way of takes and what they want out of this and what they do. And I've wanted to run a business, and fabrication's been a big part of my life, and I love motorcycles. So yeah, I went with the plan to, you know, almost work, you know, this is what you do. This is where you got to be. And this, and it is a lot of work. These builders and all what we do, it's getting the bikes cross country, doing this stuff, you know, it's expensive. It's you know, those first 2 years I did that, I didn't have any help outside of home income. You know, I worked at the metal fab company and made good money, and at the time it was a 2-income household, and you know, a supportive one, and we made a go at it. You know, and it takes that, I think, sometimes, but we did it, and so I ended up doing the same thing in Sturgis, swept, and it's the Rat's Hole that year. They had a selection. Kind of the winner was a all expense paid trip to Switzerland, with you and your bike to go to the Swiss Moto, which is an over the top amazing event. It's a building 6 stories tall, racing on top, built just for that.
Wow.
There's offices and stuff they rent, but it's, and top to bottom, every manufacturer, from all over the world, it's one of the biggest international shows. So
Damn.
to go to that, so I was selected for that year. So 2018, which I also end up finishing as Cycle Source Builder of the Year that year, was just overwhelming.
Dude, you were on fire that year.
It was, yeah, it did, you know, and I was on the cover of Iron Horse, had features all around the world, just off the one bike, and so then I got asked to do Michael Lichter's show in Sturgis in 2019, and debut a bike there, which is my gold bike, the Panhead, and the theme was has a theme for all the shows in that year is what's the skinny, so that's why it's such a skinny bike.
Gotcha.
And so debuted it there, and then
what was the first bike that you were touring around with? Was it that blue one?
it was the red 77 shovel with the knobby front tire.
Yep.
Kind of stretched low.
Yep.
So yeah, I wanted to do the first one was I wanted to do my birth year bike, you know, build it around the birth year motor. So I found the 77 online and just went at it, man. You know, built everything from scratch, and I built that bike actually in a tiny, undersized 1-car garage.
Wow.
You know, used some equipment and stuff at my, you know, at the shop after hours, and that I didn't have at the time. Now my shop's pretty equipped, but
did you move out of that garage, or are you still in a 1-car?
No, so I moved. We actually moved houses, and we moved to a house that had a good-sized shop behind it, and was there for a while. And circumstances happen, life happens, and I left that house, and went through a little transition went to another shop for a short time, and ultimately found where I'm at now. I just signed going into my 3rd year there. So it's my own shop. It's in its own location. It's you know, it's an appointment only. It's not a showroom or anything like that. But so yeah, and I'm going on my 3rd year there. So
Cool.
And it's constantly expanding and growing, and just trying to figure out how to manage it all and keep it going. That's the hardest part. You know, still a one-man show, and I do some outside, you know, industrial work and some things too in food grade stuff still, you know, for income. But bikes are primarily, certainly now, past year and a half or two, that's really taken off. I'm booked on full builds through all of 2023.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that gold bike though that you took to Lichter's show, man, that's probably my favorite one of your bikes. I think it's pretty hard to pick, but
there's only been 2.
Do you still own? Do you still own that bike?
I do. I own the Panhead still, and I sold the red bike, and that was kind of a weird thing how that all went. But then it went to a second owner. It got sold, and then that owner became a customer of mine, and the bike came back to my shop, and it's there quite a bit, just for different reasons, and you know, and to take to shows or to display, or but yeah, so I sold one and own one.
Cool.
And it's I have several things started of my own and personal projects, but everything coming out over the next year or two. A couple of them will be wrapped up pretty soon, I'll show, and the stuff finishing all through the rest of the year, and all the stuff I'll take when we start going on the road again, which loosely have a plan scheduled to do that with a bunch of new builds. They'll all be customer builds.
Cool.
So.
All stainless frame?
No. I'll have 3 stainless frame full builds, and a couple highly modified stock shovel frames.
Okay.
And one of the stainless frames is going to be a new design on a twin cam.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it should be pretty performance driven.
Yeah.
Something out of the wheelhouse of. I have some diversity coming in the stuff I've been working on, so pretty excited.
What do you mean some diversity?
I haven't been doing
Bill Dodge?
just.
He likes those twin cams.
Well, I haven't been just doing strictly hardcore chopper stuff, you know.
Diversity in the types of builds you're doing.
Right.
Okay.
The stylistic.
Kind of branching out a little.
Yeah. We've been working on some suspension stuff, and so.
Cool. I thought you meant like talent that you're bringing in or something.
No. I'm a one-man shop, and you know, it's not for lack of trying to have help. I haven't had the best luck of, you know, and I have a really high standard. I hold myself to a high standard, so I'm sure I'm not easy to work for. You know, just based on what if I'm going to do it, you got to do it, you know, and, you know, I'm not going to do anything that or ask you to do anything that I don't, or any standard, but, nobody's harder on themselves than me. And I think that's almost how you have to be successful at something like what we do. You have to have that, and it's a blessing and a curse, you know, being your biggest critic and being hard on yourself is a slippery slope. You know, it's hard not to just constantly beat the hell out of yourself, you know. But at the same time, I think that drives you to. I believe perfection doesn't exist, but it gets you as close to it as you're possibly capable of, you know.
Right.
I mean, you're pushing yourself to get there. So if it's the right way, I don't know, but it's the stressful, psychological induced way I figured to always better myself, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that gold bike's pretty fucking close to it. You know, I mean, that's about as proper as a chopper. I mean, in my eyes, dude, I just love them. Just clean, and the lines on that thing, it's
really hard. I really struggled with, you know, with the red bike being so successful in 2018, everything that it did, to be asked to follow up with something like that, you know, how do you do, what do you do? You know, I mean, I don't, you know, so.
Were you afraid at a certain point?
Were
you afraid you peaked right out of the gate?
Yeah, again, I was real hard on myself, you know, that you know, I'm confident in my work, and I'm proud of my work, and I work really hard for the level of craftsmanship that I put out, and for people to see that, and what the, you know, and the return of it it's important, but I go through hell on myself to get there, and I really struggled with, you know, am I going to meet, you know, what can I do, or what is it? What if nobody likes it? You know, like there's that, and it's just that's the way it is, you know. But so at the end of the day, you got to worry about yourself. You know, everybody says that, easier said than done sometimes, and because you're displaying these things, you're going to get feedback, and I don't care who you are, you like hearing good things about your work, you like being praised, and so I realized I just got to stick to what I like, and what I dig, man, and that's where I'm going to be the most passionate, and that's where I'm going to be the most into it, and have a vision that I think will get me there. So I kind of stuck to that, you know, all my stuff. I raced BMX as a kid.
Cool.
So kind of has that BMX, very, like I said, proper chopper. I kind of had the lines and dimensions in my head, and you know, it came together. I was really happy with how it went, and then, you know, it went on to win the AMDs and the Golden Bolt for $30,000, and was, I think, arguably equally as successful as the red bike.
Right.
And then, which in turn, you know, with life, and then, you know, that builds your brand and your business, and, you know, I haven't really had anything new, and COVID really kind of hit me at a hard time, you know, because I was going to do something for the AMDs, and then that got canceled. But in turn, you know, the customer stuff really started coming in as a result, I think, of the exposure and exposure to your craftsmanship. So, which has led now to just constantly building parts and frames and rollers, and, you know, several complete builds, and now on through this year. So it's it's all worked out.
Right, right.
But it's been a path to get there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so crazy, man. Like, we're only 6 years apart, and the more and more I talk to people, I really realize how much BMX bikes when we were kids,
Yeah,
like, really influenced a lot of, I'll say, like, our era. Like, you know, we're only 6 years apart. I'd say we're in the same ballpark there. And I was huge into it also before motorcycles. I was doing bikes, like building bikes for people and all that shit.
Yeah, I always tell the story, like how I got into BMX. At the time we didn't have much money, and I wanted to race motocross.
Yep.
My dad, we saw a bike on the side of the road. It was a KTX, which was like the trail version.
Yep.
I think it was a 60 or something at the time, not even an 80. So he buys it off the side of the road, and he throws it in the trunk of his Cadillac, and that's, you know, I'm in jeans and a long sleeve shirt and a helmet with this KTX hanging out the back of a Cadillac, and imagine that driving up to a motocross track. You know, that's needless to say, I didn't do too well. So that's how it kind of fell back onto bicycles. Like, well, it's cheaper, let's give it a shot. And
yeah,
and I kind of took off with that. And you know, I was at an age where that kind of took me around the world, or around the country, I should say, at the time. At a young age, you know, nationals and sponsors and stuff.
You caught, like, I would say I kind of sort of missed it, but you definitely didn't. Like the tail end of the huge BMX boom.
Yeah.
People forget how big it was.
Yeah,
back
80s.
in the 80s and 90s, it was fucking huge.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I kind of caught the tail end of the pinnacle of that.
Yeah, for sure.
But and I think it was a big inspiration, and now you see it with guys getting our age and older, that's a whole thing that's kind of, you know, history repeats itself in styles and stuff, but, you know, we're going back to that as now at a time that maybe we can do some things and build some things and put our ideas into something that's tangible we can show, you know, and so you start seeing that old style come back. Yeah. But it was, the BMX and that, even, you know, even the difference in motocross and stuff back then to now, I dig seeing some of these paint jobs of like the 80s era throwbacks on paint jobs on a modern performance bagger that's got a paint job from like, you know, something a Suzuki 1980 had. Like, that's cool, you know. Like
it's wild too how good some of these painters are doing that stuff. They're doing it better than it was back then.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild.
And you know,
I never thought it would be cool, that like 80s, 90s era. I never thought it'd be cool again. But like, damn, it is awesome what they're doing. I fell
right in the time in, you know, early 90s when, I guess what they call the grunge scene and all that, you know, came about, and you were coming out of the hairband stuff, and it was a big change and evolution. And I was right in my formidable years of that shit. I was the pissed off, you know, teenage kid in junior high and, you know, or high school when all that stuff came out, and I still listen to that music. I'm still influenced by that. They had a big world qualifier BMX race down in Florida recently, and I drove over there and took it in, man, and you know, hung out for the afternoon. It was like I was a kid again. You know, it's changed, but you know, there's a lot that's still the same. And there's something about, to me anyway, that those were good times, and, you know, wholesome times, and I have good memories. So, you know, to be able to put that into my build makes me feel good. Yeah. You know, and I think when you're passionate about something, it even, you know, kind of negates the argument of skill level a little bit. If you're passionate, people are going to dig it. Yeah. You know, if you put your heart in it, it shows. Yeah. You know, and you can do that with metal and, you know, anything else. But, you know, I found my way with metal, and I'm one of those weird guys, man. Like, I don't wear gloves. I like touching it. I like feeling it. I'm like it's more to me than just throwing shit together and trying to get paid for it, you know? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be. And like you said, even if you don't have that much skill, your passion will eventually grow your skill. I mean, if you're passionate enough, dude, you'll get there. I mean, we all sucked when we started.
Yeah, know, I mean,
to some degree or another.
I can go back and remember in fabrication the stuff I messed up and learning. And honestly, I think as a fabricator, when you get into metal and heat distribution, all the things that, you know, become complex in fabricating a close tolerance part, let's say, you know, the only way to really understand that is to see the bad reactions of the way things go, to screw it up.
Right.
You know, if you put too much heat on, what happens? You see what happens. Also a good way to learn how to fix shit. You know, like, I mean, there's always the guy in the shop that's got to fix the stuff that nobody else can. You know, so if you know, screwing those things up, getting it right, you know, or learning it's invaluable in the process to get you to be really good.
Right.
And unfortunately, you know, it can be a painful process. Some get past it quicker than others, and like anything else, some people are good at things that others aren't. But but yeah, if you're passionate and you try and go at it hard enough, and like I said, I had 25 years of punching a clock and doing things to help me along with it too. But yeah, you know, it's you get what you put into it, and I don't care what it is. You know?
Yeah. You're paying for your own education at that point.
Yeah. It's invested in yourself, you know. I mean, I learned at one point, because we've all been there. I've been the guy miserable as fuck, going and punching the clock, you know, moping around, getting through the day. Finally realized the hard way, dude, plenty of adversity, that fuck, man, you know, if I go in, I think the secret to life is realizing it's what you make of it, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you go in there and you're like, you know what, I'm fucking, you want to move up in there, you want to do something better, you're going to get to a point like, you know, your energy is everything, man. And I learned that, and when I did, it's not constant. Everybody struggles, but you know, things just started working better. You know, things started happening. Things started being more optimistic. You know.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to get yourself down. You know. So, but work harder, man. That's. I think that's the end. That's the secret potion. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like you've been in Florida your whole life. Have you ever branched out of Florida? You ever live elsewhere? Or?
A lot, yeah. So Florida's home. I call Florida home. You know, Lakeland's always been that to me. But I was actually born in Illinois, and as a kid, we bounced around all over. Everybody asks, you know, your dad military? No, they were gypsies. You know, my parents. I think my sisters went to even more. I have two older sisters. They can tell you their count, but I think I went to like 13 different schools or something like that through. We moved a lot, you know, so, but I predominantly grew up between Las Vegas and Florida. So I went through junior high and high school in Las Vegas, and went back out there to do different things through my younger adult life. A lot of different work out there that I did. Never touched a welder in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more fun shit to touch in Las Vegas.
yeah, and I took it for all it was worth. Yeah, I paid full price for it. But I went. I remember going back out there, and I was in Florida. I was welding, and went through a divorce at the time, and went full fuck it mode, and went back out to Vegas, and was out there for a while, and as I bounced around back and forth. I think I mentioned I was in Cincinnati for a while before going back to Florida. Worked for an engineering firm up there.
Right.
Doing welding and fabrication, field work. So yeah, I bounced around a lot through California, and lived on the road for a while. I was a truck driver, over-the-road truck driver for a while. And I kind of kept in Vegas and going back doing security, ran clubs, and was involved in that, you know, entertainment industry, if you will.
Gotcha. That would be perfect. Like, what's the Las Vegas motto? Isn't it like, you know, the typical Las Vegas, like,
what stays in Vegas? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas?
No. On like the proper like signs that you see on the side of the road, like, isn't there a saying like Las Vegas? I don't know. Either way, the new saying for Las Vegas should be "Come here and go full fucking mode."
I think they went through a span there. They tried to make it more family and kind of, you know, make it a destination spot. Bring the kids, you know.
Right. Well, the Strip is pretty family-ish now compared to what it was.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I remember there was a Wet and Wild water park at the end of it at one back in many years ago. But yeah, so they went to push hard family, and then it kind of turned like, this isn't working. So they went back to, you know, what happens here stays here. Fuck it, you know, come on out, you know. But I don't think it's ever really been for kids, because, you know, you walk down the Strip and there are hooker trucks going up and down, you know, $20 to your room, and you know, if you're a single guy, good luck going through a Center Bar and back to the parking garage without getting propositioned by
Oh yeah.
somebody who thinks good looking.
Yeah.
They find out that there's a price tag on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, yeah, that's probably the best piece of advice for any tourist in Vegas. When you're at a bar or you sit down for a minute to fucking throw down a number at a blackjack table, like, dude, the hot girls are not talking to you because they like you. They all come with a price tag.
So everybody always tells me to tell stories, so I'll tell a quick story. I had friends out in Vegas visiting, and I was actually in Florida, and I decided I was going to go back out to Vegas, so I had flown out there, and while they were on vacation out there, told them that I would be there. So I met a pretty good friend of mine at the Palms, and I gave him a call, said I was there, and so he kind of meets me in a spot, and going back towards what ultimately was the center bar, we're bullshitting, and so we get there, and he tells me about this girl in a blue dress sitting at the end of the bar. And, you know, knowing Vegas well, I'm already thinking center bar, she's a gorgeous girl by herself, you know, like, all right, yeah, keep talking, you know. So he's going on and on about her, and so we get there, and she runs up to us, gives me a huge hug, and says, "Hey, Brian," you know, she used to work at a club that I ran. I knew her very well, and we hadn't seen each other, and at this point, probably a year or two.
Yeah.
I had been away from Vegas and just happened to go back out there, ended up moving back again. But so he's talking about this girl randomly at the end of the bar. I get to try to tell him that, you know, what the situation probably is. Oh, and then she comes running up. It's just one of those perfect scenario things that
Did you get him a discount at least?
No, I happen to know hookers sitting at bars and center bars in Las Vegas. But you know, Vegas is a transient town, but like it's like anything else, like in any industry or anything you do, it's a really small circle. Right. At least at the time it was. You know, I was, last time I ran or managed clubs out there, did any of that, it's been 12, 15 years or so probably. But you know, it was a very, you know, you'd have a stack this high of guys from around the country, you know, trying to get jobs there as a floor guy, you know.
Really?
Yeah, well, back then, you know, especially the first time, pre-2008 I was out there, you know, there was so much money. Our door guys were making 80 grand a year, wow, you know, working 4 days a week at night, you know. So it was, yeah, I mean, between our club, there were 3 clubs, like the Rhino's always a big one in Vegas. We had Sherry's Cabaret, which was the club of the year that year, and Treasures. And a couple of the other ones back then. I don't think Sapphires was even there yet. So that, you know, the guys at any of those at that time, kind of the standard was $1,500, $2,000 a night cash you were walking with.
Wow.
Every night.
Holy
you know,
shit.
Convention season, and it was just the perfect storm. You know, and I went out there, I said I got divorced, and that's what I was going to do. And at the first time, I didn't really have a lot of connections in that, so I took a whole day driving to clubs. I was going to get a security job, you know. Couldn't find shit. So it's like nighttime, it's dark, and I pull into this one, and I go in, and long story short, I end up getting a job there, and got like a 24-hour club. I get an afternoon shift, one customer, and you know, like it's terrible. And then I mean, afternoon shift, you see night shift come on, night manager gets on, all right, boys, let's make some money tonight, you know, and it's popping, there's a line outside, and you're going home, you know. It's like, so I worked my way up and got to working the floor on my first night ever in Vegas, working the floor. I on, you know, the prime time nighttime shift, and I get a first guy his table. They're on the radio. I get him, and he slips me, you know, a bill in my hand, and you know, I said, "Thank you, sir. Anything else you need, let me know. My name's Brian." He gave me a $100 bill. And I'm making $600 off of him that night. He was probably there 2 hours.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, so this is how it works, you know. So, and I got the bug, man. I just, you know, so ultimately I ended up, the owner was based out of New York. I worked for him personally, and I ran that club, and got into a lot of things in that realm at that time. And it was one of those watch what you wish for situations. But it was a cool experience. And, you know, that's a whole, that whole side of Vegas at the time. Like I said, I haven't been out there in a long time, but it
kind of saw the dark side of Vegas.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I mean, it's fun side.
I don't want to call it like in a negative way in a sense, but
Well,
like,
you know,
it's fun, it's dark, it's fucked up, it's everything.
I took it for all it was worth, you know, and ultimately had to leave it. You know, I just maybe I don't think you can sustain it for forever, you know. Right, and so I kind of left for a while, traveled a little bit, and ended up coming back to Florida. And years later, I went back out with the mentality of like, all right, I'm going to go out. Had some connections by that point and get back in it, but not make the mistakes, you know, not get so caught up, you know, kind of. And I realized pretty quick you can't.
Right.
You know, you can't have it both ways. You know, it's you're either in or you're not, and if you're not, you're not the same. So it's you know, I haven't been back, like I said, to Vegas in 15 years, and said my goodbyes. Every tie that needs to be tied up there is tied up there, and I don't really care to ever go back. But
yeah. You ever have anyone walk into any of those clubs, like some big heavy hitter, where you were kind of at least taken back to see him in there, like anyone famous or something like that? A lot
of music guys. I remember like Slash and all them came. I thought it was pretty cool to see him because he looks just like he does in every picture you see him. You know, he got the hat and the glasses, and he's just like kind of. It was almost surreal, you know, and you see a lot of them, you know. A lot of comedians, a lot of big name business guys, you know, owners of sports teams and stuff, and you almost get desensitized to it in Vegas because you see so much of, you know, of that kind of stuff. And money's different in Vegas than anywhere else. You know, it's devalued to a point, you know, whether they give you chips to represent it or what. Everything there is based on taking it from you.
Right.
You know, so our club was, I mean, we were a well-oiled machine. Like, you know, I mean, you weren't leaving there with any money if we had anything to say about it. You know, it's just the way it was. And the girls worked that. Like I said, it's just everybody. A lot of different times in my life, I've worked in those kind of environments, and you know, that my run from, what was it, 2005 or 6 probably to 7, 8 was, you know, the perfect storm. You know, like you'd write a book about it.
Yeah, because the economic boom and all that, right?
Yeah, the economy, you know, just everybody knowing their role. Everybody was a hustler, you know, like I said, the door guys, you know, they communicated with us. Everybody knew what to do. Everybody was, you know, and anything you do, if you take pride in what you do a good job at it, you treat, you know, all those things, you're going to be successful. And when you cohesively come together and you all work together to, you know, the unspoken mentality is we're going to get all the money we can.
Yeah,
you know, we're here to hustle. You
Every
know,
night's the perfect heist.
Yes. And you know, and in convention season, every week is a different convention. So you get all these people from all these different industries coming to do nothing but party. So, you know, and back then we had such an advantage because, you know, everybody says, you know, is the mob still in Vegas, or what's the hustle in Vegas? Well, I can tell you 15 years ago, by far and away, the biggest connection you could have and the hustle in Vegas was the cab authority, taxi cabs.
Okay.
So they'd have meetings, and what clubs basically, in short, would pay out the most money to the cab companies.
Okay.
So what would happen is, if you're from Vegas, our cover charge is $5. But if you're from New York or Florida or anywhere else, it's $35.
Okay.
So anytime you get in a cab, you know, all these people coming to party out of the conventions with their group, they get in cabs. This was before Uber and all that stuff. Cabs is the only means of real transportation for people, tourists. They say, I want to go to a strip club. Or they want to even say, I want to go to a specific strip club.
Right.
We're paying that driver the most. He's going to take you to our club.
Right.
You don't want to go there, man. You want to get hooked up? I'll tell you where to go.
Right.
So when those guys, when they pay their cover charge, for every head that walks in there that he brings, our club gets that $5, just like you're a local. That driver gets $30 a head.
Wow.
You got a guy with a van with 5 people.
Dude, so even
$150
those drivers are fucking making money, dude.
Killing it. They're lined up. We can't squeeze enough people in our club because every fucking cabs and anybody that mentions strip club is coming to our strip club.
That's crazy.
So that's the whole thing that people don't realize when they think they're getting a connection from a cab driver. It's It's who's paying him the most.
And
there are legitimate meetings. You know, and certain cabs couldn't go to here, and certain cabs couldn't go to the airport, and the cab authority was the ultimate. You know, that's who ran Vegas at the time.
Crazy, man.
So yeah, and it dictated what clubs were successful. It dictated, you know, a lot of things. So, and we would pay, like I said, you know, look how much money per head we were giving up just to get people there.
Right.
Because now once you're in, you know,
forget it.
You're
like
done.
You said, you're getting robbed. Fucking yeah.
You know,
that's crazy, man.
You know, $18 Red Bull and vodka. You know, so it was. I learned a lot through that, you know, and how it all went, and led to all kinds of other things. But yeah, so certainly not just Florida. I've been all over the place.
Crazy, man. So getting back to Switzerland, you said you've been to a whole bunch of other countries. Was that all the same trip, or have you like been to Europe multiple times, or like?
So winning the Rat's Hole, like I said, in Sturgis led to Switzerland. So I went there and I competed at that show and won Best of Show there at Swiss Moto, which in winning that gave me the invitation to Custom Show Emirates, which is kind of Dubai or Abu Dhabi's, the Middle East version. It's actually in conjunction with SEMA.
Okay.
So very along those SEMA-ish.
Was there cars there also?
There's tons of cars, and over there they're really big into dune buggies.
Okay.
High performance dune
they're
buggies.
in the desert, so that makes sense.
So there was high performance dune buggies was a big part of it, and then they had tons of cars, and I think there's more pristine cherry American muscle car, you know, classic muscle cars over there than there is here anymore. I mean,
really,
the GTOs, the 67 to 69 Camaros, all the stuff that's really desirable. Really? You know, even the bigger GTOs, you know, the 66, 67 GTOs and stuff. Yeah, I mean, all over the place.
That's wild.
All over the place, man, and
I thought
beautiful.
they were more into the newer exotics over there.
There's those too. You know, I know a friend of mine, you know, Sheik Customs. He's in Saudi Arabia. He's big in the Middle East and had his display. And he had everything from, you know, the old muscle cars to a new Lamborghini that was all custom. And, you know, he's the guy that'll have a brand new Lamborghini or, you know, in a shop and take a Sawzall and just start, you know, cutting the thing apart. So that led to Abu Dhabi, which was actually like 30 days later, I think.
Okay.
So my bike went straight from Switzerland to Abu Dhabi. I came home a month later and flew to that. And we won Best of Show there as well. And that was a really cool experience going to the Middle East.
Wow. Did anything come of it? Did you get a lot of international customers from there? Did you pick up a build or anything?
No. You know, I've sent some parts over there. I met three brothers. I think it's RPM Customs or RPM Bikes over there. But no, you know, a lot of people said, oh, they're going to buy your bike. Everybody's a millionaire. And
did you get well, some people don't sell, man. I mean,
yeah,
someone else,
there were a couple
later, but he got some wild offers. Another well-known American builder that's been on the show. I can't even believe you didn't sell the bike for some of those offers.
Really? Yeah, I didn't get any offers. And there were a couple other guys there from around, my friend Stefan, T4 Motorcycles. He was trying to sell his bike there, and nobody got any action on him. You know, so. But it was a good experience. Met a lot of people. Once in a while, some still reach out, and it's just tough sending parts and you know, and certainly complete builds. I have some European customers and have a build going for France and some frames going to Germany and different and things like that. But that show specifically didn't yield what I think a lot of people had expectations of from a financial standpoint. But
yeah,
the experience was amazing.
Yeah.
You know.
So where'd you go from there?
That was it for international travel. We were when we won the AMDs, we were all set to go to Germany, to Cologne for 12 days for the AMD World Championships. But then that got canceled. And like I said, once I just kind of was coming in the middle of running the Gold bike through its, you know, shows and all that, when everything just kind of shut down. So after that, the international travel stopped, and then by the time it picked back up and the show circuit started again, and the rallies and all that, I just got so overwhelmed with customer work that debuting my own stuff just kind of, it's a tough balance. You want to put that new stuff out, and my customer stuff is sometimes always so evolving. It doesn't. I don't throw bikes together. They don't just come out fast. So it's. But this year should be pretty eventful for new builds.
Cool. Shit, man, I just had a good one for you. Just fucking totally slipped my mind.
It'll come back to you.
Oh well, yo, you into hunting? You said you're friends with Stacey McCleary.
I love.
Has he got you out there yet, or what?
I always tell people I've never hunted a day in my life.
Okay.
I've never been hunting. I enjoy fishing. I can't catch shit, but I enjoy going fishing with buddies and guys that do it every once in a while. It's not my thing, but no, I've never been hunting. But my plan is, our deal is, when I get with Stacey, we're gonna go up in those mountains where he goes and do some real fishing, and he's gonna take me around. We talk about it all the time. So
cool.
That'll be my first. If I go out hunting, it'll be with Stacey. That'll be my first time.
Cool, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah. Like I said, we talk pretty regular, and you always get off the phone with Stacey feeling better.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know what it is, but it's, I always get off the phone with a smile, so.
Yeah. Cool, man. Damn, we're gonna turn this recorder off, and I'm gonna be so pissed that I forgot this question. Motherfucker.
I don't know what it is,
I don't know, man. This is why I'm not your attorney. I'm a fucking podcaster. Damn.
Well, we covered a lot, I think.
We did, man. Do you want to add anything? Got anything you like coming up? You want to advertise or tell people about?
No, like I said, just been putting my head down and working, man.
Gotcha.
I think looks like the plan. Maybe I may try to hit Sturgis and follow it into the next year, Daytona, but I'm just enjoying working and building stuff. And
cool. I just remembered my one last question.
What you got?
Not so much a question, but if I remember correctly, I think it was the year Roger Goldhammer won the AMDs, which was probably like 2010 or something like that. But at that time, I had heard, I think only one American at that time had ever won an AMD.
I don't know the specifics on when it last was or how many.
Right.
But from what I understand, it's been quite a long time since we've had an American win the AMD championships.
Right.
Being that, from my understanding, we were told when it was canceled ultimately for COVID that was indefinite, be in America.
Right.
And if that's the case, yeah. And we were, everybody scheduled to go, and I believe it was there because of the gap there. Instead of 2 per year, we're going to send 4 because of every 2 years, and it skipped. So I think we had an honest run to maybe bring it back to the United States, because between myself, Tim Dixon, Paul Fairley, and Rick Bray. Rick Bray was the last entry winner. He won in Texas. So, we had some real talent and I think opportunity to really make a mark. But there's a big difference between a lot of American shows and the AMDs. Those world championships over there are a different game, My good friend Doreen Rans from Romania, he's finished, I believe, top 10 twice the last 2 years. And what he was going to bring to the table was, he came to win, So we it's more engineering inspired and some things like that. They don't have the, where we have the passion for functionality, and it's a motorcycle that, they don't have those requirements as much, and it's strictly more engineering based, I feel. But but we'll see where it goes, and I think they may come back here and put the American flag on the trophy again. Yeah.
Is Moon Eyes in your future?
I would love to, man. I have a few things that are on my list that I'd like to do. Moon Eyes in Japan is one, either to have a bike there or just experience it by being there. And I want to do Born Free, which, ultimately I can be a predecessor to that. And I'll either get out there with Stacey just to experience it, or or if I'm lucky enough to maybe have a bike and be invited and try to make a run at it that way too. I'd be honored.
Cool, man. Am I going to see or one of your bikes at Loretta Lynn's this year?
I may be running around there. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I got a lot of stuff going schedule-wise, but that's a great event. Always brings the best to people, and it's just a good time. You know, it's a totally different feel. Like this is unique to shows. That's unique in its own right. It's a special event. So, at the very least, I'll do my best to be there, and there's a good chance I might be milling around.
Okay. Cool, man.
I don't know if we'll have all these bikes wrapped up by then, or one or two to take. We'll see.
Yeah.
Something new, but
cool. You want to tell people where to reach you?
Sure. Buttera's Metal Werx. Buttera on Instagram. Buttera's BUTTERAS_metal_works. WERX. I also have a business Facebook page. And phone number is 863-712-1455. You can call anytime.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Brian. And anyone listening or watching, don't forget to hit my Patreon. And I've also opened up a Buy Me a Coffee. If you don't want to subscribe to Patreon as a monthly thing, you could just throw me a couple bucks there. All the links are in the description on the podcast and the YouTube. See you guys next week. Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yep. Let's